Oh, well, apparently Keir Starmer has been told to stop making mistakes. Well, that's telling him, isn't it? I'm sure that now he's got the instructions, he'll go right ahead and run his party perfectly well and completely mistakeless from now on. Then again, perhaps not. Mistakes seem to be Starmer's middle name. His whole political career appears to have been a mistake. In fact, even his ancestry is probably a typographical error. When he told us that his dad was a toolmaker, considering how close the letter T is on the keyboard to the letter F, I'm inclined to think that what he wanted to say was his dad was a fool maker. And I'm Granniopteryx. Please like this video, please share it, please subscribe to my channel. And if you want to help me financially, you can do so. All the links are in the description. But really, the best thing you can do is subscribe and to click that like. That tells YouTube all it needs to know. So when I was at school, my history teacher told us that the great thing about Queen Elizabeth I wasn't that she was highly intelligent, she was, and well read, she was, but that she had an instinct for choosing the right people to advise her. And that's what made her a great ruler of England. Well, Starmer is very poor at choosing his friends and work colleagues. And we can start with the Mandelson scandal, of course. The ex-MI6 chief said that Starmer showed appalling judgment over Mandelson's appointment. Diplomats must go through the highest level of vetting, and either he didn't mention his relationship with Epstein, in which case he was lying, or he did, and there was massive misjudgment made in appointing him ambassador. It says here that Downing Street was refusing to say when Sir Keir was made aware of the new material, the new evidence about Mandelson's dealing with Epstein. And it was later reported by Sky News that Britain's security services expressed concerns about Lord Mandelson's appointment last year, but were overruled by Sir Keir's team. And Downing Street has denied that. Well, Downing Street has denied that. That's the same sort of thing as saying that Downing Street gave its full support to Mandelson. Let's just go through all the problems that Keir Starmer has had with his work colleagues. Let's start with Rachel Reeves, who said she'd been an economist with HBOS, and it turned out she was working in customer service. It says here, Rachel Reeves makes a lot of her time working as an economist. After serving in a trio of junior positions at the Bank of England, Rachel says that in 2006 she moved to the Bank of Scotland to work as an economist. Guido Fawkes reached out to the Reeves team. They did not deny she did not work as an economist for the bank, but instead she covered various areas using her economist background. That's a nice way of putting it, isn't it? The fact is, she was in customer service. Then there's Jonathan Reynolds. Let's look at this. Right, this is in the Independent. Cabinet Minister accused of misrepresenting his CV has admitted to Parliament that he was wrong to describe himself as a solicitor when he never qualified. And that actually is an offence. It's a criminal offence, I think. And he is the Secretary of State for Business. Okay, so he misrepresented himself. Then there's Angela Rayner. Now, Angela Rayner has been sacked because of a political scandal, it says here, when it was revealed that she had underpaid stamp duty by £40,000 on an £800,000 flat in Hove purchased in May 2025. The controversy centred on complex property arrangements involving a trust for her disabled son and conflicting declarations about her primary residence to different authorities. But that wasn't the first time Angela Rayner had been caught in some sort of a property fiddling. There was also a controversy surrounding the sale of her first house. And here is an article in the New Statesman, which is a publication generally sympathetic to the Labour Party. A tax expert explores questions over the Deputy Labour leader's capital gains and the council house sale. That was the first one. And this happened before they took office. In February, the tax lawyer, Dan Neidl, an expert, began looking into press speculation over Angela Rayner's tax affairs. She bought her council house in 2007, sold it in 2015, didn't take tax advice at the time, and may or may not have incurred capital gains tax that she didn't pay. Her initial explanation in February was based on a misunderstanding of the rules. All right, what did she misunderstand? She thought that because she said it was her only home, then she didn't have to pay capital gains. This, however, is not how the rules work. It's true there's a capital gains tax exemption when a person sells their main residence, but married couples are only permitted one main residence between them. Rayner married Mark Rayner in September 2010, and from that point they had one main residence. And that main residence technically must have been Rayner's house, Mark Rayner's house, because that's where her son was living. According to this article, it looked like she hadn't consulted any sort of a tax authority on that. But, you know, from this and this next Hove thing, you can get the idea that Rayner is the sort of person who takes advice only when it suits her, when it suits her wishes. And she doesn't take advice when it might be disadvantageous to her. Now, so that's enough of Angela Rayner. Now let's have a look at Tulip Siddiq. This is what the BBC had to say. Sir Keir Starmer has been urged to sack anti-corruption minister Tulip Siddiq after she was named in an investigation into claims her family embezzled up to £3.9 billion from infrastructure spending in Bangladesh. It turns out her aunt is the ex-Prime Minister of Bangladesh and had to do a runner when people started getting, well, suspicious about her financial affairs. After that, there's Louise Haigh. Louise Haigh was the Transport Secretary, and she was appointed, and then it emerged that she had pleaded guilty to a fraud offence 10 years ago. She made a false report of a theft to the police. So she actually reported a theft that hadn't happened. Haigh has admitted telling police in 2013 she'd lost her work mobile phone in a mugging, but later found out it had not been taken. That happened before she became an MP. But that's not the point. The point is, she's obviously a dishonest person. There were other issues around that. She'd reported a terrifying mugging and told them her work mobile phone had been among the items stolen, but later found the handset in a drawer at home. Turning on the phone triggered police attention, so she's not only dishonest, but she's not that bright either. And she was called in for questioning. Haig said, "Under the advice of my solicitor, I pleaded guilty, despite the fact that this was a genuine mistake from which I did not make any gain." Yes. However, the Times claims this row relates to more than one mobile phone being stolen or going missing. The BBC understands Haig was unaware of any investigation by her former employer involving more than one mobile phone. Okay, so that's Louise Haig. Now let's talk about Rushana Ali, the homelessness minister. Rushana Ali has resigned after she was accused of hypocrisy over the way she handled rent increases on a house she owns in East London. The row was sparked after Ali ended her tenant's fixed-term contract in order to sell up, but then relisted the house for rent at a higher price within 6 months, which is something she is currently trying to outlaw under the Renters' Rights Bill. Now, this blew up after she got her post, so it was something that Starmer couldn't have anticipated, but that doesn't let him off the hook. It means he couldn't see there was something not right about her as a person. Andy Burnham was talking about the Mandelson mess, and he says there's obviously something wrong with the vetting process. But, not at all. The vetting process was supposed to be very rigorous. Either Mandelson lied or Starmer knew about it and decided to install him as an ambassador anyway. Of course, I don't know one way or the other, but looking at the others, there seems to be a pattern. And what appears to me to be what's wrong is Starmer's two-tier attitude to people. My theory is that, lacking any originality of his own, he surrounds himself not with the best, but with the people he feels most comfortable about working with. And he's prepared to overlook anything that might disqualify them in the wider world. Let's face it, his completely inhuman reaction to the Southport disturbances shows he's someone who can't read the room and who has a very restricted ability to read people's characters. I suppose, as far as a Prime Minister is concerned, Starmer might have been a good man in the accounts department, but he's not a department leader. He's always making mistakes. He can't grasp the feeling of the nation, and he can't understand the zeitgeist at all. Right, that's my report on Keir Starmer. Till next time. You can help my channel by subscribing and clicking the notification bell. That's quite important. And by sharing if you're so inclined. Links to my other channels and to donation methods are in the description. But the best way you can help is simply by clicking like and notify. Thank you.